Hello and welcome to my first video about these 7 years here in England. Um, I am a new kid today in this beautiful park here. And I came to talk about God's faithfulness. The Lord is faithful when we see it or when things don't make sense. And some seasons in our lives, it seems that they're darker. It seems we can't see the end of the tunnel. And that made us question about God's faithfulness. But by experience, still walking that way, I am learning more and more that you need to walk the walk with the Lord. So let's go for a walk while I talk to you. If you keep going on your walk with the Lord, you will see the light at the end of the tunnel. God is faithful. And the next videos I'm going to be sharing with you, they are proof of God's faithfulness, God's love, and that God is taking care of me and all of us. So the story I'm going to tell you starts in 2013. So back then I was in Portugal and I found out I was pregnant from a girl, and everybody in my family was super excited because there's a lot of boys in our families, especially on my husband's side, so everybody was cheering for me. Later on that year, I found out exactly on the day that I was supposed to have my daughter, I found out that she died. It was a very hard process, and I would be more than happy. I can ask the Lord and see what He wants me to share. But if there's there right now seeing this video, if there's any mommies going through the season of crying for your lost ones, and if you don't know how to deal with that, I also have a story to tell you, but that's not for today. Okay, today we're talking about God's faithfulness. 7 years ago, I found out that I lost my girl, and from that on, I went through a lot of exams and blood tests to understand what happened with my baby and myself, what led to why did the baby die. And after a lot of exams, they couldn't find anything. They didn't have an answer for me because everything seemed okay. And well, then I just had to accept and went through my own healing process with the Lord, which I can talk another time. But besides that, in 2015, I got pregnant from Samuel, and I was followed then by very good doctors in Portugal. It's a doctor that was on the case. She was also a university teacher, so she was into a lot of new information. She had a good team with her, and I was being followed, monitored, and really they couldn't find anything, and so the pregnancy was going very well. And at the end of 2014, we came to England, and then I had the chance to have a hospital just 5 minutes from my home. And the doctor that followed me, he just came from Bristol not long ago, and he was the one that God chose to help me, definitely. I don't believe in chances. I believe in God's love and God's care. So what happened is that the doctor checked me. He did all the normal tests here that you do in any pregnancy, and he was a bit concerned because he realized that my antibodies were very high. And usually when your antibodies are high, it's because you are fighting a disease or fighting something, and your body needs more antibodies. So I had more blood tests done, and after the doctor did the first scan, he could understand what was happening. He was able to identify the problem because he had an example in Bristol, a situation of another mom that had a high level of antibodies. What it means is that my body wasn't accepting the baby as part of me, but as a strange body. Does this make sense? So my body was fighting the baby, and that's the reason I lost my daughter in the first place. The thing is, this is not so easy as it seems. This is a rare condition that they couldn't find in Portugal, but to be honest, and I need to be careful here, but they didn't know about here, even in Cornwall, they didn't know about this situation. But this specific doctor knew, because he had that experience in Bristol, and it was one situation, okay? So again, God is so faithful, isn't it? That I came to a different country, and in this country there's a doctor that just came from another part of England a couple of weeks before I came, and he was able to find the problem I had, and for the grace of God, he knew exactly what to do to protect the baby. So this is how my first miracle starts here in England. As soon as they knew what to do, the doctor knew what to do, then I had this almost every week check. I would have a scan, and I don't know exactly how many weeks later, they realized that my levels were still very high and the baby was struggling. They have a method which a doctor told me exactly. They could see it on his brain, on the baby brain through the scan. They could see how it was, but I confess that I don't remember how to explain to you. But let's just say that the doctor was checking weekly how the baby was, and after a while they saw that the baby wasn't well, so they said I needed intrauterine blood transfusion. I never did that before. I had no idea how would that be done, and I was afraid. During that time I asked the Lord to help me, but I remember going to Bristol afraid, basically trembling. I didn't know what was going to be, but the Lord is so good that not just the doctors and the nurses were so kind, but I felt this sense of peace. I remember shaking when I sat on that bed and they were preparing me, that as I closed my eyes, I start feeling, this is not me exaggerating, I really felt as I was lying down, guys, this is going to be silly, but I was really feeling that I was like at the beach, relaxing in the sun. This peace came upon me. I wasn't afraid anymore. I was in peace. I was relaxed. And then the midwife, she was so good. She was massaging my feet. She was amazing all the time. Anyway, I was relaxing and I felt the presence of God. Diogo was with me all the time, and he's so much better than I am to explain all the details. I'm really hoping that sooner or later he will join me so he can tell you more, because I know the main picture, I know how I felt, but he knows the details. Anyway, they had to use a big needle, which really scared me when I saw it. But really, don't worry about it if you have to do it someday. because you have all the anesthetic you need and everything, so don't worry. But they prepared me. I saw that, but as I closed my eyes, I felt completely at peace. And then, really, I don't know how many seconds later, when they start doing it, they laugh, and that's because the baby just moved into a perfect position for the needle to come, because they had to renew the blood on the baby. They had to put the needle and the baby needed to be still, so all the blood that the baby needed to receive would come with no problem. So at the right time, the baby just moved into the right position. He didn't move anymore the entire time, and that's the doctors are very concentrated. Just put, I don't remember how many milliliters they were putting at each time, but they were counting 10, 20, I don't know, probably much more, but they were counting it and putting it very silently, and they were amazed at how perfectly everything was. And that, my friends, that how amazing, faithful, good, loving, and caring our Father God is. He took care of everything. He put the baby in the right position. He helped the doctors. And I wish I was more bold to speak at the time, to say exactly how I felt, because they were, of course, rejoicing so much in their victory, in their success, and they were amazing, no doubt there. But there's some things that are just supernatural that not even the best doctor in the world can achieve. But that's awesome, because that means that the doctor above all doctors was there, and that's even good for them. So if you're a doctor, I just pray that you can feel the presence of God in everything that you do, because you need his wisdom, you need his protection, and you need his love for others and for yourself. So that was a very important experience for me. And as I left there, the first time it was perfect. The second time, I believe, because God wants to receive all the glory, and it was important to understand that he was his hand. So the second time I had to take intrauterine blood transfusion, the baby didn't position in the right place. In fact, he was kind of wriggly, and it took a lot more. It was because they were all changing the needle until they found the perfect place. It took a bit longer for me, and it wasn't so relaxing, but it did it. The baby had what the baby needed. The blood was completely renewed and clean both times, and God was faithful in there. So I'm very thankful for that. After that, not too long after, I don't know, 1 week, 2 weeks, they said, okay, it's time, the baby needs to come. So I had this C-section, so Samuel could come. And yeah, that was another story. I was so afraid because I never did it again. Every time is something new that brings a certain fear and worry. And I was like that. And I remember that everything just went perfect. The doctor that did the anesthetics and everybody just did it perfectly. Everything went just so good. I'm so thankful. So after that, the baby was born. Of course, he had to go to NICU and be there away from me for a while, which was very hard as well. But during that period, at the same time, Diogo was always there during those weeks, both in Bristol, and then we were able to come to to Truro, and Diogo was just amazing. He wouldn't sleep. This is the way he was. He would be with the baby or with me non-stop. At a certain point, they even asked him if he was a doctor, because I think he didn't have clothes, and they just gave him like a blue t-shirt and trousers, and they were like, oh, are you a doctor? Because he was always there. And the ones that know Diogo know that he likes to talk about everything, and so it's just very interesting because they were kind of admired by the way the things that he knew and the way he would talk with the other doctors and all the care that he was having with me and with the baby. Then, of course, with the C-section, it was very hard to walk and painful. So Diogo used to take me, he would take me on the wheelchair to see our baby. And that was a hard time. But as we saw Samuel getting better and getting better and getting better, that gave us hope until they said, okay, he's good to go. Okay, I forgot to say that when he came, he was anemic. So they had to take him earlier, quickly, because the baby wasn't well. So, but outside they took care of him, and then finally, because we lived very close to the hospital, we were able to come, and he never ever needed to go to the hospital again. It just grew healthy and strong, and that is our first miracle, the miracle of God's bringing us to a different country so we could have this amazing, happy ending, amazing experience of having our Samuel and seeing how special and unique he is. So I'm so thankful when we actually fight for our own children, because they are a gift and a present from the Lord. And only when you have your children, you understand how special and unique they are. And you understand why they are there, because they really make a difference in your life. Not Samuel and all our children, they just come to complete our family. They are precious, they are important, they're not a mistake. And so this is our first story of when we came to England. And I just want you to think, how is this that we came to a different country? We weren't looking for saving a baby. We thought everything was fine, but we came to England, and because of that we understood finally what happened with our daughter in Portugal. And the Lord brought the right doctor to take care, the doctor to take care of our son. And now he's here, and I know one day he'll be able to tell his own story because the Lord opened the door. So I really hope you enjoy this first video. Please leave your comments, tell me what do you think about it, and maybe share your own story. If you have anything you want to say and give God the glory, please do. You're more than welcome. So see you another time. I hope you enjoy this one and wait for the next video. Bye bye. God bless you.